you for joining me today. If you saw my video from last time, I went over opening data files with Python Pandas, and today is part 2. Now, if you are seeing how the world is right now, you probably, if you're not already in the programming world, you're probably wondering, how do I get in? Well, I come from classical training, right? I have a degree in computer science. I coded in Cisco. I've been teaching people for, for many years at this point. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need a degree to be successful. You do need to have a thirst for learning. You do have to stay humble and find mentors. But I mean, that's just with any role, really. So today, I honestly, it was bugging me. So the last time that I was here, actually, sorry, before that, if you are as I was saying, if you're looking to get into programming, I have a boot camp that should be, there it is. I don't know why there was so much empty space. There should be a URL that's going to pass here in a minute for my Python Basics Bootcamp. I'm only opening that up twice this year. So if you want to have 4 weeks of training, live training, plus 3 months of mentorship and more, go ahead and check out that URL. It's processhart.com/Python-bootcamp. So back on the topic of hand. So not yesterday, but the day before, I did a video on how to read in from an XLSX or an Excel file and CSV using Python Pandas. At the time, I also wanted to try and show you some exports, and I was able to with CSV, but there was a little bit of a mishap with the XLSX. Now, what I did find out earlier this week when I was trying to do this for you to make sure that the training was done, it was super easy and simple. I found out that how I used to do things with Python Pandas had changed. So I had to do a little bit of a backstep to see what was different. And that's what this video is for, to show you how to export. So the code that you saw last time, which if you are if you're not sure where to find it, the whole video for import is on processhart.com/Python-pandas. But I'm going to go ahead and share the screen really fast with you. Looks like when my Chrome crashed, it moved all my windows around, which is lovely. Okay, so that's the wrong page. There's the right page. Okay. So working with pandas. So again, I have this file here. There's lots of additional materials here. Yes, the blog looks like it's for digital marketing. That's because my business used to, not used to, it still is, but originally was mainly focused on teaching digital marketing because over the years, I've determined that it doesn't matter if you are an entrepreneur or an employee, you need to know how to leverage social media. So I'm in the process of moving my blog to be more encompassing of what my brand actually is, which is empowering you for success, not just in digital marketing. But coming back to topic at hand, Python Panda. So the video is here, but the one you're watching is going to be added in just a little bit once this is over. But as I said, on here, I went through and walked you through some code, and I want to show you what I changed since then. So let me just clear this. Okay. So a couple of things. I have some comments here in my code because some things are comments, some things were things I were using as I was troubleshooting. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit. Let's see. We're going to hide that for now. Okay, so first of all, pandas and NumPy are used in this. NumPy is only used to create a matrix of random numbers, so you don't really need NumPy to do this. Sorry, it's 10 o'clock and that's my alarm, my light going off to say, hey, get off your computer. So I'm using PyCharm, so that's why some of these things are popping up. So I have pandas and NumPy. If you don't have either, it's just simply pip install pandas. I believe pandas automatically installs NumPy. If not, it's just pip install NumPy. So Python visualizers. I have a site, which I'm sharing with you right now. There, if you go to that, there are 2 and about to be 3 final Python code visualizers. And this is not visualization like you might see in data science or storytelling. This is visualizing your code, seeing what's actually happening underneath the hood, because there are often times where you're coding and you think it's doing one thing and really it's doing another. So this website that I'm talking about, Python Visualizers, or this blog post has more on that. And I say almost 3 because the third one had a problem, but I've since had a discussion with the author of that code because it's open source, and I'm going to be doing an update to that third one soon. So Python visualizers, that's where Snoop comes from. Snoop is awesome. And same as Loguru. All right. So I have 2 files, GSOM example CSV. This is the original file, and then I copied, or rather opened it and saved as an Excel file to start the process so that you can see what it looks like for, here we go, for using this. So I have the file name for CSV. I had the file name for XLSX. I then added logger.catch because I was having some issues, and unfortunately I fixed those issues before I added logger.catch, so this is really just here in case I break it again. So I have a function called getNumber. In it, it's going to have a single input parameter that is expected to be an integer. This is going to be called twice in this specific program. The first time is the first round, so it's going to expect a 1, and the second time is the last round, and it's going to expect a 0, so input and output. From there, it's then going to ask a user for input and returns a 2-element tuple. It's going to provide their response as well as the string of what they responded for. So that is the doc string here. And the code for that is if the input parameter, we're just going to call it rec for required. If it's not a 0 or a 1, we're going to return none. And that should never happen. But if it does for some reason, we want to make sure that we're handling it otherwise. Otherwise, if it's not in there, if it is a 0 or a 1, then it's going to check if it's a 0 or a 1. If it's a 0, it's going to be output. If it's otherwise, it's an input. And it's creating a string because we're actually going to use the f string parameter. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe it's just f string. But basically, it's a nicer version to do your string formatting. F format, string format, hello. Okay, so we have input, which is a built-in function for Python where they're taking the string and we're going to request input from somebody. If it is in the list of 1 or 2, so if it's the string 1 or string 2, then it's going to do stuff. Otherwise, it's going to keep going and going and going until we get a proper response. If it's a 1, again, it's going to be CSV. Otherwise, if it's a 2, it's going to be XLSX. And then it's returning a tuple, even though it doesn't show the parentheses here. That's what Python does. It's returning a tuple of the type cast string to integer. So it's going to be an int1 or an int2, and then whatever the string is of the file, so CSV or XLSX. So that is that function. It's going to be called twice. Now, I have this line here, which means that if I'm running this Python file as a program, it's going to run this stuff in here, right? We're not pulling this module in anywhere else. This is just how it is. So it takes in 2 input from the user. This is like the overall program definition, right? It takes in 2 input from the user. Only acceptable response is 1 or 2 both times. 1 is the type of they want to read from. 2 is the type of file they want to write to, or rather the first and second one is what that is. And then it completes the requested task, only utilizing some columns from the original data frame. So what is in that data frame? We're going to go ahead and open this up as a CSV file. Doesn't really matter. CSV, XLSX, doesn't matter. There we go. So just so you can see what it's in here. So I have a passion project that I want to work on when it comes to climate data. So this climate data was actually pulled as a, not test, not a full data set. And it gives station, the name, latitude, longitude, blah, blah, blah. Lots and lots of columns. I pulled this from some site. And so that's what it looks like. It has a whole bunch of columns and about 3 or 4 actual data rows. So from there, I added this. In theory, this should not be needed, but I like to cover my bases. Plus, if for some reason we get a none from here, we want to make sure that we have a data frame to be able to pass back, which you'll see in a moment. I'll show you in just a second. So new frame is assigned the value of PD, which is pandas, right? Up here we had an import pandas as PD, which is the typical way to call pandas, or rather to import it. Pandas.data frame, and then we have this right here, which NP is for NumPy, and in NumPy it's using random.randint, so it's generating random integers from 0 to 100, and it's creating a matrix of 7 rows and 3 columns. Okay, and you'll see this here in a second when I'm gonna break the code. So we're then going to give it columns of yo, what up? Those are the names of the columns. We are starting file name as an empty string for now, because we're going to build up the file name that we're going to be creating. For item in 1 and 0, because again, we're having the first and then the second runs. So if so it's going to take item is going to, the first one's going to be 1. It's then going to assign choice and RST, which is, I think it's just rest, by assigning it to getNum item. Now getNum, again, it returns a tuple of 2 items. So what it does is it distributes the first element in the tuple to choice and the second element of the tuple to RST, or rest. I have choice equals none here to show you what it would look like if it would fail. So I'll show you here in a minute. And so if choice is none, which it shouldn't, somehow there's a problem, and we're going to break out of this for loop immediately, whether it's the first time, second time, doesn't matter. Otherwise, if choice is not none, we're going to check what the item number is. And so item, again, is determining if it's the input request or the output request. So if item is equivalent to 1, meaning it's the input, then we're going to append we're going to create a temporary variable called temp name, and we're going to have it in RST. So it might be in underscore CSV or in underscore XLSX. Then if choice, which is returned from getNum, if it's equivalent to 1, meaning the user chose CSV for input, then we're going to read in the CSV file. Now, I did not give the option to give the file name. This was intended to be a very simple, easy program, but I like to be thorough, and I like to make sure that what I do is clear, and that there's as little possibility for bugs as possible. So we are PD for pandas.read CSV. So we are reading in a CSV and converting it into a data frame. That's what this does. So it takes in the file name here, and we have header equals 0 because we know that the data that we assume. We don't know. You should always do your checking in your code. But for this example, we know that there is headers in the file. So we're saying header equals 0, and it will take it'll take the first row as the labels for the columns. Otherwise, it reads Excel. So it's a little bit different. Instead of it read CSV, it's now read Excel. And again, file name X, because we're using the XLSX file. And then, of course, header equals 0. If you want to learn more about those, I do have the URLs here, and I will be putting the code on my GitHub. So be sure to go to this blog post to learn more about that, which it's not up there yet, but I'm hoping to get that up there pretty soon. Just keep an eye out. And if you're on my blog right now, there's a pink bell on the bottom left, so tap that and you can choose which mobile notifications you'd like to receive. All of them, digital marketing, programming, whatever. Choose, and you'll occasionally get updates when my blog is updated. Okay. So we've chosen the in portion, and otherwise it's out. So pretty simple. If it's not, if it's now the inputs, which means it's the second round of that loop, then we are going to just simply add out and then the extension. We then, depending, once that section is done, input is done, right? We're going to append input to file name. If item is equal to 0, which means that is the second round, it's going to go through here. If it's not, if it's only done input, then it finishes and comes right back up to here, because now we're going to the 0, and it runs this again for the output part. Now, if it is the output part, right, if item is equivalent to 0, then we are creating a new frame, right? A new data frame from this. So when you have a data frame, earlier we called it new frame, and you have something like this, it looks like a list within a list, right? So what this is doing is it's saying, hey, I am requesting this list of strings, and I'm expecting these to be the labels of the columns for my data frame. These are the columns that I want to basically take from new frame, and I want to create a brand new data frame and return it. That's what this does. And so it's returning that data frame into temp frame. I'm printing it so you can see that it actually worked. If choice is equivalent to 1, meaning it's a CSV, then we are going to export to CSV with that new file name that we appended. Or if it's a 2, we're going to write with Excel Writer. Now, this is different, and you need to know this because this is the part where part of the part where I messed up the other day when I was trying to explain this, is because it has been rewritten a little bit, but basically it's a lot more, there's a lot more to it. And so if you've gone through my bootcamp or you've done basics of Python, you know that when you're working with files, one of the things that you need to do is use a with statement or some other way to close your file. So this is just the easiest, cleanest way to start the process. So with Pandas Excel Writer, right? So with Excel Writer, file name. So I'm basically creating an object called Excel Writer and using this file name and calling it writer, right? So we're using the label writer to point to the Excel Writer object, right? So with this writer as writer, temp from, which is that new sub frame, right? That new frame dot to Excel writer, right? The object that we just did with index equals false. The reason why we do index false is because we don't want it to do any weird indexing. And again, you can check all that out in the documentation. So once that's done, you're basically done. And then we're going to print that new frame that was used. Well, that's the original frame. Here, we'll do it this way so you can see the difference. Okay. That's right. All right. So if you are not familiar with PyCharm, I'm going to go ahead and close this down. If you're not familiar with PyCharm, you can either click on Terminal or right-click on the tab in the file that you're working in, open in Terminal. And it will bring up a new terminal, and it will take you into the location where this file is located so you can easily do Python calls. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do CLS for clearing, just so it's all fresh and lovely. Python space, and then I'm going to just type out a few characters and then press tab so it auto completes. Enter. For whatever reason, this should not be taking so long, but my computer's been acting up literally all day, and I probably should have restarted before I started this. But we now have input option, right? We are expecting something to come in. So we are going to say, let's say we're going to input for CSV. For output, we're going to say XLSX. And, oh, that's right. That won't, yeah, there it is. Okay. So we see that the file name is now in CSV out XLSX.XLSX. This is the original, sorry, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I printed it twice. So this one, the new frame, is actually this one right here. Where did I print that? Oh, right. I printed it right here. So I didn't need to do it on this one. Okay, let's try that again. All right. I'm just pressing the up and down arrow keys. So again, let me delete this file. So in CSV out XLSX, as you can see, it did create the XLSX file. So we're going to go ahead and delete that. This time we'll do XLSX read and CSV out so you can see that it does work. So input option, XLSX, output option, CSV, and you can see that it shows in XLSX out CSV just like I requested, as well as you can see in the file. And if you make the file and it doesn't act like, for example, let's say that you export to CSV and you label it an XLSX file. I've already tested this. It will fail because it's like, I don't understand how to read this. You have to make it a CSV file. So there's stuff in the background. You can't just willy-nilly do it that way. So that's why it has to be the 2 CSV and the 2 Excel calls. So as you can see, this is what should be printed to that file. And this was the original one, 3 rows, 62 columns, right? So it works. It reads in and it exports. And just so you can see what that looks like, here is the file that's created from exporting to Excel or CSV, because again, it's all the same data. So again, we have station name and latitude and longitude, just like we requested, and all of the rows, which was only like 4. So that is that. That's how you read in and export to CSV or XLSX for Python Pandas. I hope that you got some great value from today. If you did, please do tap the heart on this. Be sure to subscribe, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever it is that you're finding me from, and show some love. I would really appreciate it. And I am constantly looking for ways to provide either knowledge or maybe introductions to things that I feel could empower you for greater success. That includes digital marketing, Python programming, human design, so many things that have helped me in my life. And I try and share that on my different social media platforms, as well as my blog, which is prosperousheart.com. Now, again, if you want to learn more about pandas, I have more information on my blog at python-pandas. I'm going to be updating this from time to time with other video trainings like this, so please do check it out. And again, if you want to learn those really cool modules to help you kind of see what's going on under the hood of your code, definitely go to Python-visualizers. And if you're brand new to Python, again, I have my bootcamp right now. It's open right now, and I'm only offering it twice this year. The super early bird pricing is now over. We are now in the early bird pricing phase, so definitely do check it out. See if it's right for you. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. And that's it. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful and prosperous rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.